Understanding diplomacy. In my very first year of college, our professor of political science taught us that a diplomat is one who says neither yes nor no. Later, the newspapers educated me upon dinner diplomacy as a normal practice of heads of states. But I obtained a real insight into diplomacy after reading autobiographies of B.K. Nehru, Maharaja Krishna Rasagotra, Henry Kissinger, etc. While Indira Gandhi and Margaret Thatcher were exchanging pleasantries and enjoying kebabs and curry with Hyderabadi biryani and chatting about their children, their foreign secretaries were preparing press notes on their cordial talks over the issues on terrorism and economic cooperation. It was only Henry Kissinger who knew that in private meetings, President Nixon would refer to Indira Gandhi in unprintable language, but would shake hands with her as he would with a long-lost friend before the TV videographers who huddled to catch the historic meeting for the breaking news of their channels. It dawned upon me long ago that the most preferred candidates for the Indian Foreign Service were those having a master's degree in English literature. That was because it was only their mastery over the language that enabled them to twist words after making several drafts in flowery language. They would thus break the monopoly of pharmacists of making sugar-coated pills. This skill alone would enable them to handle public relations through the media. Most importantly, it helped them in creating an aura of the visiting prime ministers and presidents well in advance before they actually landed in a foreign country. Saying neither yes nor no is an age-old art advocated by so many, from Chanakya to Machiavelli, and from the Mahabharata to the Shakespearean play Merchant of Venice. My first encounter with diplomacy occurred when I started living away from home in the hostel. People would invite me for a meal. Come anytime, any day, but give us a ring before you come. Disapproving of this manner of invitation, I did not bother to invite myself to their place. Subsequently, they would nearly hug me on the street and, in honey-dipped tones of hospitality, grumble about having forgotten them. After this, with innocent promptness, I did take time off from my busy schedule and made it to their place. And guess what? They exclaimed, "Oh, we didn't think you would come so immediately." I also came across another type of diplomatic invitation, especially for marriages and other family functions. People would invite just for namesake. Taking it as a genuine invitation, if one honored it, one only invited an insult of being totally ignored. I found that people behave differently with different people, and their behavior too varied at different times. At times when I visited them, they made me wonder if they were the same persons who had come to my house. Perhaps they enjoyed being offered tea by the host more than being hosts and offering it to their visitors. After all the world is a stage, as Shakespeare said. Perhaps he too had never visualized that in the 20th century onwards, people would be born actors. When I started working, my knowledge of diplomacy was limited only by my gullibility. It took me some time to learn that people did not mean what they said. I learned that the bosses make you slog by making promises of increments and promotions. Why do you think there is a high turnover among the IT employees? Their tales of woe on Quora.com tell you that their bosses had conveniently forgotten the promises made to their subordinates. The current management philosophy is that only the dissatisfied employee works hard in the hope of a better gain in future. My lessons in professional diplomacy progressed as I started meeting business managers for my research. Many would give a number of excuses even for giving me an appointment. After making me call them several times, their excuses would vary from, "Oh, I forgot," to, "I'll call you later." I found that their secretaries were seasoned diplomats. I always wondered as to how was their expertise in diplomacy tested before their recruitment. Where did they receive a special training in diplomacy? When asked for an appointment, they would start telling me how busy their boss was. They would then ask me all kinds of questions over the phone, obviously on behalf of their bosses, starting from the purpose of my research to whether I am Miss or Mrs. They would then keep my call on hold to convey these details to their bosses. Much that I always wanted to shoot back, "It's none of your business." I had no option but to keep quiet because I needed their permission for my study. So my politeness too was a part of my hard-learned professional diplomacy. Those were the pre-mobile days. Now, mobile phones can take care of all such diplomatic ways of dealing with people. Hats off to technology that makes lying easier. I leave it to you, my dear friends, to enumerate all your ways of avoiding people who try to contact you on phone or WhatsApp. Diplomacy, in effect, is the art of saying no. From a shopkeeper to a doctor, and from your friends to your own parents, and even your most adored class teachers have all been diplomatic in dealing with you without making you realize so. Remember your class teacher who made the most troublesome boy the class monitor just to save herself from all the headaches of managing 60 students in one class? The upgraded version of this art is giving an oblique reply when an unpleasant question is asked. Wait and watch. Doctors tell all their patients' relatives to allay the obvious fears of all kinds. Poor fellows. They have to do this tightrope walk day in and day out to speak the bitter truth sweetly without a tinge of unpleasantness. There are some who would just shrug their shoulders and observe a studied silence. The highest form of diplomacy is very aptly put in Marathi language. As the saying goes, one should kill a scorpion using a guest's shoe. It means that you should get an unpleasant job done by someone else. Shrewd bosses always make their deputies sign the letters of dismissal and denials of all kinds. Imbibing this art of avoiding unpleasant jobs alone would make you eligible to enter politics. Notice how quickly politicians declare their statements made in press conferences as never uttered or as misinterpretations by the press reporters and more so by their political opponents. There is nothing wrong in being diplomatic. It is an art so very essential for survival and also for outsmarting others. It helps you in keeping everyone happy, from your spouses to children, servants to bosses, and from friends to foes. Rest assured, your popularity will soar as you improve your diplomacy. Why are you interested in our popularity? You may well ask me. My dear friends, let us have a win-win situation. As you watch this video, I too will become popular on YouTube. Smart diplomacy, eh?